through the ability of utilizing MAT, specifically MA TRX, I can make sure the individual parts are working. So when I increase the speed of the motor, when I put bigger brakes on, they all work better. Because I'm telling you, when you're going 200 miles an hour, it's a lot different to stop than when you're going 60.
Welcome to the Exercise is Health podcast, where we're talking about exercise, health, and the interconnectedness of the two. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and we will be coming to you every single week from our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Exercise is Health podcast. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and we are coming to you from our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg in Schaumburg, Illinois. Now, at Muscle Activation Schaumburg, we believe your health is your most valuable asset. Your health is one of the biggest influencers of the quality and quantity of time that you have. And while there are many aspects of health, our expertise is exercise. Exercise has been proven time and again to not only improve your health, but also increase your longevity and improve your quality of life. And we have a rock star of a guest for you with us today. None other than Steve Hess. Steve Hess served 21 years as a director of performance with the Denver Nuggets, during which he was responsible for overseeing the team's weight training, conditioning, and nutritional programs. He designed and arranged the Nuggets weight room in the Pepsi Center and also designed functional pieces unique to the Denver Nuggets. Steve is one of 6 trainers worldwide who sits on the Under Armour Training Council. He is a sponsored athlete by MA TRX and an ambassador for Redbird Chicken. He is also on the scientific advisory board for Massimo Mighty Set, in addition to sitting on the scientific facility board for the Panorama Orthopedic and Spine Center. Steve has been featured on NBA Inside Stuff, All Access with Ahmad Rashad, NBA TV, and the Eating Network. He also has his own workout segment on the Altitude Sports and Entertainment Network and has been featured on all Denver major news channels, including the Denver Post, Rocky Mountain News, and the Wall Street Journal. Now, before we get into our interview today with Steve Hess, I want to let you know that we did have our 13-month-old daughter with us while we were recording. We tried to put her down for a nap. She disagreed, insisted that she was there for this interview. I don't blame her, but she did ask some questions. She did throw in some commentary, and as such, there is some jibber jabber that happens throughout this interview. Please bear with us because the gems that Steve drops during this interview were too valuable for us to edit all the parts out where she's putting in some commentary in the background. So without further ado, please enjoy our interview with Steve Hess. Steve, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to our show.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Yeah, man. Well, we're really excited to talk with you today. We've gotten to know you over the past at least 6 years, if not more. I feel like I met you in 2013, probably around then, so maybe even pushing 7 years now. And man, we met through the Muscle Activation Techniques program, and then we got to get to know you more in the Resistance Training Specialist program. But we want to learn more kind of about you. So why don't you tell us more about your career, how you got into sports performance, how you ended up with the Denver Nuggets and spent your time in the NBA?
Okay, absolutely. So firstly, once again, really appreciative of you having me as a guest on the show. Also, I want to thank both you and Julie for making me truly humble every time around you guys, because you're so much smarter than me that it kind of gets to the point like, I'm like, Julie, don't come over here and show me a palpation. And no, Charlie, I'm good. So I appreciate you keeping me humble. So I'm humble and I'm hungry to get better all the time. Kind of the story of my life. So I grew up in South Africa until I was about 12 years old. Then I went to go live in Zimbabwe. Then I went to go live in London. Then back to South Africa. Then back to Zimbabwe. I went to the majority of my high school was spent in South Africa. The reason why I'm hitting you with this is I've really had a diverse upbringing, but knew since the age of 6, I wanted to work with the athletes in some realm. Ideally, I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon, but discovered once I finished my undergraduate degree, it wasn't a path I necessarily wanted to take. Went and got, I got to let you know on this, going back to being humble, graduating high school, I really thought, and I won't use profanities, I'm going to be respectful of that, but I thought I was the bomb and applied to 22 universities and got accepted by 1. It was an acceptance which was predicated on me doing my SAT SATs and maintaining a 3.6 GPA.
Wow.
So when I tell you, I'm like, okay, my guy, you got to lock it all in. So that's when I chose my path. I have an undergraduate degree in exercise science. I have a master's degree in phys ed with a sports medicine concentration. I did my master's thesis on bone mineral density and resistive trained females through Syracuse University and Ithaca College. That was published. I presented on that. Another quick story. And guys, if I talk too long, cut me off. Once again, I can talk forever. So I was presenting my master's thesis at an ACSM conference for physicians. And at the end of my thesis, I thought I killed it. One of the docs stands up. Listen, he asked me a 7-minute question, and I don't think I understood one word in the whole question. So I'm like, I'm messed up. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I'm like, at the end of the question, I'm like, excuse me, Doc, can you just repeat that? And he sat down and was like, we're good. So that's how I got that one. So I had my master's degree in sports medicine, then was blessed to work at a health club in Denver, where after a year, I ran the training department. Alan Bristow was the general manager for the Nuggets at the time, came on, was going to hire a part-time strength coach under me, and what they would do is work for me as well. And I said to my wife, I'm getting that job. She's like, my guy, you don't know much about basketball. I'm like, that's perfect, because I'll bring a strength and conditioning realm to it. It won't be tainted. So I called Alan Bristow as the general manager, Bill Hanslick, who was the head coach, and Jim Gillen, who was the athletic trainer, every day for 3 months, locked in an interview, ended up getting the job. So I remained on as the head trainer at Greenwood Athletic Club while I had that job. So it was 2 full-time jobs. I was probably going 100 hours a week, and got to the point after the first year, didn't know how I was going to do that. Then the Denver Nuggets offered me a full-time position. After 3 years, they promoted me to an assistant coach. I spent a ton of time there for like the next 10, 15 years. Then was promoted to director of performance. Right when I thought, locked in, love the organization, love professional sports, I took a 180. My 180 was like, I wanted to take the realm of my knowledge into the medical realm to reach a broader spectrum of people. And I wanted to diversify what I'd done to broaden what it is I do. And I took on a position as Chief Performance Officer at Panorama Orthopedic and Spine. So as I was like just rambling on, you asked, how did education come into it? That is the most important factor in my journey, because it keeps having me reevaluate myself. So I did MAT with Greg for 16 years before I took an MAT class.
Wow.
And then I did the RTS Mastery Certification before I took my CSCS. Then I did my CSCS to go back and, like you guys, do the MA TRX, just to once again understand I'm the oldest guy in the room and probably the dumbest guy in the room. So I think the whole journey I'm on is to continually torture myself into one day being great. But that, just having a conversation with my wife, I'm 52 years old right now, and I'm so much better than I was as a trainer at 40, which was better at 30. I'm just ecstatic to keep the learning going. And here's why I want to do it. To again reconfirm how little I know, so I'm thinking through every process. So the reason I do what I do, like you guys, is to help people. But then understanding the complexities of the body, if I don't stay sharp and reevaluate everything I do, I have a tendency to roll into the specifics of protocols. I start believing I'm going to teach them how to do things as opposed to let them teach me what's needed by them. So that's kind of like my whole speech.
Steve, I love how you ended on that, where it's like, you're volunteering to constantly be the student, where most people would look at you and say, that dude's the pro. That guy's got it all together. But I think that's what makes you the professional that you are, is that you are the continuous student. So I appreciate you saying that.
Now, Steve, what was so cool to me about that is, to kind of piggyback off Julie's point, is I think so often in the I guess I really only have experience in the fitness industry, but one thing that I have noticed in the fitness industry is this idea of, well, I'm going to keep doing it this way because this is the way that I've always done it. And for you, it seems like you fly directly in the face of that approach. You're saying, or constantly reevaluating what you're doing, trying to constantly pick up new skills, trying to constantly better the current skill set that you have. What do you feel like has been some of the advantages to that approach, but also what are some like the disadvantages or the struggles that come along with approach like that?
Okay, so first I'm going to roll with the disadvantages. Julie, I appreciate you saying that. Here are the disadvantages. The more I know, the more responsible I have to become. I become much more accountable for everything I do. I kind of dug the days where I check out an exercise. Oh, that is cool. I'm locking it in, and I'm just going to do this amount of reps. Or it's like, I remember the days when I would work out. Here's the other thing, too. I'm a huge believer in practicing what you preach. Now, do I train the same way I train my athletes? No. But in the realm of what I'm doing, there's specific things I kind of go in that direction. So what ends up happening with me, I already now have to understand the why behind every single thing I do. So a lot of times, if I'm not careful, I can lose the fun aspect. And you got to have something like that. Otherwise, you kind of do lose the scope of the whole thing. Now, you ask me the pros of it. The thing about it is, it's an evolving procedure that you're never a guru and you're never a pro. So by stepping out of the NBA, it gave me an opportunity to spend 3 years looking at how they do mechanics in football, how they do rehab post-surgeries, acute phases, how to reintegrate a corporate performance program where you have someone who's had double hip replacement and someone who's an athlete, how to invigorate and utilize a balance program where we're looking at posterior chain stabilization, anterior chain stabilization. Before we go unstable, we create stability. These are things I had to think through. So you ask me what the brilliant thing is, it's a book that'll never ever be written. But along the way, I'm helping way more people because my toolbox is becoming so much more abundant that I can legitimately, now look, I'm not saying I'm the best or I'm the worst, and I absolutely am not saying I'm the master of all trades. But here's the one thing I do well. I train with intent. So if you're locking into my training session, it's you and me. Jules, it's the same thing. But I can transfer that energy with intent, with everything I know, to a 75-year-old who's had 3 back surgeries and a major heart attack. And the same thing with an athlete who's coming back from rehab or an athlete in the midst of his game. Am I the best at all of that? Not saying that. But within each of these realms, check it out. I got the guy, 65, 3 back surgeries, knees a little tweaked out, through some MAT principles. What if I could treat a specific muscle, we could stay with the workout? We're an extreme athlete, and within the realm of what I had planned, his back's tight. I have different tools to integrate the workout. On the same thing, if I have a different knowledge base, I have the athlete coming back, had everything planned, locked in. This is what I'm doing. My guy said to me, I had no sleep. What do? How do I diversify that? Not only that, I can do it in a team setting with 180 athletes on the field. This is stuff I couldn't do 3 years ago.
Steve, can you talk a little bit more about how do you integrate this when you're working with more than one person? Because I can take my brain to, okay, how do you work one-on-one with people? Because that's what Charlie and I do all the time. But what we don't do often is work with groups. So how do you take this very specialized, specific principles that are custom to each person and then do it with a group of people?
That's a brilliant question. So again, is it as specific and is it as precise? Absolutely not. And in my dream world, what do I like to do? Absolutely work unequivocally, one-on-one, and I like to have a 2 to 3 hour window. So whatever I screw up, I can fix. I'm not rushed, and I can utilize that. But here, I'll give you a brilliant example. So come up with the concept PTP, preparing to perform. And all it is co-contractions post what people call a dynamic stretch. So whatever motion we do in a dynamic stretch to take someone into a fully shortened position, let's say it's a tree hug, per what you guys know, psoas iliacus are overly contracted. I will do a low-grade isometric in a 6-second cycle for that particular muscle. So I would repeat close to the motion 3 seconds all the way through. I can vary this, so it would either be 6 reps, bilateral or unilateral, but this is what I can do with all different programming. So for every single thing that I do in what people call dynamic functional way, I can re-emphasize and protect someone by doing a co-contraction. That's just one way. Other ways are, I'll do low-grade isometrics to reinforce a specific motion. Some of the RTS principles, I'll have a guy get fully warmed up by doing a low-grade isometric at a fully shortened lantern position for agonist and antagonist. I can do that with my whole group. So is it perfect? It's way better. Just things like introducing low-grade isometrics into eversion, inversion, plantar and dorsiflexion, so my athletes create some ankle stability before they smash on their ankles. Those are 3 ways with a group of 7,000.
I love it. And I think one thing about our line of work, like we've been talking about and that like you've been talking about, it can be so very focused and specified or specific for each individual. So then to be able to apply it to a group setting, I think enough of the work that we do kind of flies in the face of the general fitness industry to begin with. But then to take the trend in the fitness industry, which is, group training and things like that, and then apply these principles to that. I mean, that's a tremendous skill, and that takes a tremendous amount of kind of focus and buy-in on your part. But what things have you seen as far as results that people are getting, as far as people's experiences with the workouts, training in larger groups, but applying these very kind of specific individualized principles? What kind of results are people getting? What has their experience been like?
Okay, so again, I'm only giving you the positives.
Sure.
So I'm locked into this. I'm not gonna bullshit you. There are some negatives, but within the realm of positives, firstly, understand it's a new concept. So people aren't overly locked in. You have to educate them through the process. When it comes to our balance program, we have 9 ladies that started our balance program literally a year ago. All 9 of them are still doing the balance program. We premise the entire program. We based it in strength, not range of motion, not balance. We progressively built them from specific strength protocols on anterior chain, posterior chain, full body. We tested them on some of the standard get up and go tests, and we compared that with what we have. What we utilize is we have muscle sound to look at glycolytic content and asymmetries within the muscle, and then we also have DARI, which looks at motion analysis. It takes it up to 980 billion data points, and then it tells us how people move in motion. So these ladies have seen significant improvement across the board continuously. Wow. Performance, so when it comes to our corporate performance program, we have done 9 3-month go-throughs. They've seen significant improvements across the board. But there's also we've introduced correct nutrition, correct rest, mindfit, things like that. When it comes to team training, we have taken on a big-time high school over here. 2 years ago, we went to the finals of the state championship. We just did speed, agility, and testing, introducing some of these principles in the preseason. This year, they won the state championship.
Wow.
We've taken on one basketball team who, in the last 3 years, they won more games in 1 year than they had won in the last 3 years. Wow. The varsity team didn't have an injury. Now, that's not what I'm saying, but what I'm giving you is I'm giving you a spectrum. So from our recovery program all the way to our athletic program, if you look at everybody's seeing results, because we're not just saying just the one way of doing it. We're interjecting different principles, but we are protecting them through co-contraction.
That sounds fantastic. And the thing that excites me about it is kind of like you're saying, it all comes back to, protecting them, making sure they're staying safe and healthy, doing the best that you can to prevent injury. And it sounds like, with the co-contraction piece, making sure that muscles keep working well. That's something that we talk with our clients a lot about. That's something we talk about a lot on this podcast. So so I can really appreciate the fact that you're injecting that idea into, the programs that you're running.
Steve, I'm pretty unfamiliar with sports performance, but from what I've heard and the little that I've spent in the sports performance world, it's very traditional based and protocol based, as we've kind of already addressed. And you have taken the principles of MAT and RTS and really introduced and tried to integrate them into what you're doing. How do you specifically use MAT to improve your clients, the people participating in your programs?
Wow. Okay, so when I'm working with an individual, I have one individual. So this individual, he's a big-time Division I basketball player. If he starts getting shin splints, I know I've got to get through 9 patterns of his feet using the MA TRX. And how do I know? Because once I get through 9 patterns, he no longer has shin splints. And how long does it last? As long as those patterns hold. Other examples are, I have another guy who works in the NBA, and I know once we're solid in the first 3 patterns of MA TRX, he has no hamstring issues. As soon as I come out of those patterns, or then he starts getting hamstring tightness. So that's why, how do I know it works? Because that's why I fly out every 3 to 4 months to get this done. If it didn't work, you wouldn't do it.
Sure.
It goes back to the specifics of even my son had a major ACL tear, meniscus tear. There were some other issues as well. And I'm looking at he's come back, 12 pounds heavier, functionally much better, because not only did we work on the integrated parts of the system, but we also made sure that we integrated better mechanics. So he runs better, he decelerates better, he jumps better. So we put 4 inches on his vert. We put a huge amount. I mean, he's just a better athlete, bigger, stronger, faster, but he knows how to put the brakes on. So how do I integrate this all? And through the ability of utilizing MAT, specifically MATRX, I can make sure the individual parts are working. So when I increase the speed of the motor, when I put bigger brakes on, they all work better. Because I'm telling you, when you're going 200 miles an hour, it's a lot different to stop than when you're going 60 miles an hour. Now I also understand some of the athletes I'm dealing with are 6'6", 250, 6% body fat with a 42-inch vert and like a 4'6", 40. I mean, if they go in 100%, that's a different beast.
Yes.
So you've got to make sure everything works. But once again, the thing I don't really understand is if something doesn't feel right and we're training, it's not right. So if we had a sprint-specific day working at top-end speed and my guy says I don't feel right, we ain't doing it that day. If we're going for max reps and everything's not locked in, we're not doing it that day. That you are an athlete. Everything I do is to make you a better athlete. Now you ask me, how do I utilize these other principles? So if it's not to where I want it to be, I get to fine-tune it with the MAT principles.
I love that. So, building off of that, kind of take us back to when you first started integrating MAT into the work that you were doing with the Nuggets. Because, like you were saying, you had been having Greg come in for, was it 16 years before you even took a class of MAT? So the organization was obviously very familiar with MAT. What do you think the organization saw that they're like, okay, well, we need to kind of keep integrating this? And then what did you see that you were like, you know what, it's great having Greg in, but I need to learn this myself?
Here's a brilliant thing. Again, I'm not going to get dissuaded. When I learned this all myself and I was in the MA TRX principles, I still had Greg in. So I do believe that one day, and it's not today, I could singularly have the most to offer as a strength and conditioning coach. It is not as an MAT RX professional. Charlie, I don't think I will ever be to your level. I don't want to be at your level. Julie, you are better than me at MAT RX. If I had a choice to go see you or me, I'm seeing you. It ain't even close. And Megan, who treats me, not even close. If I was paying for me and her, I would pay half price for. But the whole package I bring in is different. So while I was doing all this, I know what I do well. And it gets that engine to go to the end level. We would have Greg in there. We would be working together. We would do a core stabilizing rotation or work on top end speed or work on acceleration. This is what I may shut down. Greg would work to bring it back. I had this integrated with the Nuggets for 22 years. They rolled it in 22 years deep, and they still facilitated it while I had the MAT RX Plus. So not only would this unbelievable organization pay for my education, but then they would hire someone better than me, so we would have the best of both both worlds. Sure. Here's the other thing too. It's such an unbelievably amazing tool. It broadens how you look at things. You guys know that. So when someone says through reciprocal inhibition, if you treat the anterior side psoas iliacus, it can say to the hamstrings, chill out. You would have more hamstring flexibility. You don't actually see that until you do this for a long, long time. Yep. That's why I want to learn how to do it.
I love it. So then kind of transitioning from professional sports into the private sector where, you're not necessarily working with top-end athletes exclusively. You have people that have 9-to-5 jobs or corporate jobs or whatnot. Talk to us about that transition and kind of how these principles that you developed while you were in the NBA setting kind of carried into the private sector and working with a different generation of people. And like you were touching on earlier, people that quite frankly have more orthopedic or other physical issues.
So here's the thing. Generally speaking, the people that I attract to my pool of people that want to work are people that want to get really better. So when you talk about, it's the same thing. I have one individual comes in, 60 pounds overweight, not functioning correctly, probably does, I think he was doing $170,000 a year to doing $1.7 million a year in the same business. Wow. And let me tell you something, my guy went from, no disrespect, out of shape, not digging life, to I'm like, my guy, you have to calm down. You are not invincible. But this is what he created within the realm of creating a system where you're upgrading the muscular threshold, but you're reinforcing it through resistance training so you can withstand so much more. I have another individual who could not walk. Now the guy hits me up. Steve, this is total bull. I went snowshoeing, and on the fourth day I didn't recover. I'm like, my guy, you couldn't walk, so there's a perspective issue. So when you say, everyone wants what everyone wants, and here's what everyone wants. Everyone wants optimal health. They want to feel good, undoubtedly. I'm telling you something else. Everyone wants to look good. So the only slight difference, when you're looking at the professional athletes, it's all geared towards performance. What I'm doing now, and again, I'm so blessed, because the scale of people I'm working with still includes professional athletes, but it's the same thing. They want to feel good. They want to perform optimally, and they also want to look good. So when you say, how does it differ? It doesn't. And that's what I'm telling those young trainers out there. My guys, my ladies out there, be as hyped and intentful with your 78-year-old as you are when LeBron James calls on you. Because it's a transferable entity. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Every single person I've trained, I don't care if it's a 6-year-old. I don't care. I don't care if it's his mom, his dad, his coach. I don't care. I'm doing whatever I can to make this individual better in the realm we've decided to go with.
I can really, really appreciate that mentality. I mean, just the idea of like, hey, whatever you're going to do, go and give it your all. Be your best in that moment, with whatever construct you have, whoever it is you're working with, whatever resources you have, just whatever you can do in that moment, do that, do it to the best of your ability, and, help others kind of be that same way, help others raise their own ability to be the best of their ability. So I really appreciate, that mindset that you approach not only just your work with, but to me, it seems like you approach everyday life with as well. So thank you for that.
Steve, I've been dying to ask you, so are most of your one-on-one sessions 2 to 3 hours long?
So no, very seldomly will my one-on-one session go less than an hour and a half. Very seldomly. Just like little things, I feel people hold better if I do the MAT after I've trained them. It's like, so I really like to incorporate both. I've had guys, come in the season, big time basketball players with chronic tendonitis. So you're so limited in how you can load them. So I'll do blood flow restriction training, so I don't have to load them. And then I'll follow that up with some MA TRX, but specifically in their feet. And I feel once I lock in their feet and we've exhausted their legs, it really helps. So there's so many different things. I really very seldomly create a session block that's not 2 hours. And if I do, I apologize to the person that it'll be an hour and a half, because it's less for them and more for me. There are some sessions which I've ended in 40 minutes, some in 30 minutes. It's just the way it goes. And I'm not just saying that, because a lot of people, like, again, we keep getting these bits from social media and how it should be, and we start believing that crap. And I'm like, this is real. Like, I really feel that when the person leaves, I want them to leave better than when they came in. And I hold myself accountable to that. So I have had sessions that'll go 3 or 4 hours.
You know, you brought up a couple of things that touched on some posts of yours that I've seen on social media, and one being the blood flow restriction. And so I've noticed that in some of your posts, you know, you have cuffs and it looks like it's attached to some kind of machine, not like a weightlifting machine, but a different kind of portable machine. Talk to us more about the blood flow restriction, what benefits you've seen with it, using it personally, using it with your clients, and what the kind of impression of those you've been working with has been.
So Owens has come up with an unbelievable machine. It's invaluable in rehab. You're including blood flow to the area at a specific percentage. Upper body would be like 50. Sometimes I take you to 60%. Legs would be 80%. So by including blood flow, what ends up happening is when the blood returns, it's nutrient dense, huge amount of hormonal activity increase. But when you include it, you're able to load the specific muscle without putting a huge amount of stress on the joint. Simply said, on a bicep curl that would normally take me 30s, I get a similar response with thighs, and a better response. A lot of people that I do the rehab process with, it, when I don't use BFR, they're like, it's not even the same workout.
Really?
One of our docs, and again, so these are unfounded studies, but one of our docs for 5 months just did BFR, 8 pounds of quality muscle put on. And like, as I said, the guy's a freak of nature, but there's huge benefits in the realm of recovery. Don't have to load as much. But again, just thinking outside of the box. This is the piece that doesn't kind of work. It works.
That's really cool. I mean, it's something that's definitely piqued my interest. I haven't looked that much into, but I see you using it, and it seems like you always have really great things to say about it. So that's really interesting stuff. So talk to me about what's kind of coming up next for you. What projects do you have working on right now, if you can speak to that at all? I know some of probably a lot of the stuff that you're working on can't be discussed right now, but if there's anything that can be discussed as far as like what's next for you personally, what's next for you professionally, I'd be super interested to hear about that.
So I have 3 things on the go, and the first one I'm going to put out there is because I got to get this going quick. I'm definitely going to write a book.
Nice.
I just have a book's coming out. Here's the book. You're not going to get the book because you're not going to share shit about anyone. This is going to be a positive outlook on how what we do really helps. So I'm excited to get this going. And this little bit of downtime is giving me the opportunity to delve into that. I'm getting excited because I think we can impart, if we're humble and we know we don't know it all, we can impart so much through our experiences. So there's going to be a book, and I'm locking in tight right now.
Oh, cool.
The other thing that's coming, I have concepts within the professional realm where I'm looking to upgrade the whole system, and I can't go into detail with that, but it does involve professional sports, which is an amazing concept. The third thing, which I'm really psyched about, we've done my team at the Institute, at Panorama Wellness Sports Institute, done an unbelievable job of just creating this unbelievable corporate performance program. We're creating corporate warriors, and I have like different entities that have done such an unbelievable job. I'm geeked because they are no longer corporate workers. These people are leaders, and we've created these unbelievable leaders through the mental, physical, just like little things. Like we say, okay, our workouts start at 5, need to be there 4:45. We have people living 45 minutes away, never late.
Wow.
Never late.
Wow.
Goes up. They never. It's a culture that we're developing.
Yeah.
We've locked into the nutritional profiles, utilizing macro cycling, have a team to do that, looking to upgrade the mental aspect of it. But the bottom line is, here's the bottom line, we're there doing work. So the premise of everything I'm understanding is everybody has to put in the work to see the results. And we like to look at it a different way. It doesn't happen. So if you think you're going to get rich because you look good, it doesn't work. And ultimately, it doesn't matter how much money you're going to make. If you're not locked into working hard, being resilient, you will lose it all. So what we're creating is just every day is another day just to get better in everything you do.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So to kind of recap what I'm picking up as like your training philosophy, how you go about things. First and foremost, you got to be locked in. So like totally focus, whatever your task is in front of you, lock in on that task. Number two, when it comes to training and looking at, whether it's working with the individual or large groups of people, there seems to be a large focus on the muscle contraction aspect of things, whether that's the co-contraction utilized throughout the workouts and during the warm-ups, or, whether it's the MAT side of things, just making sure that people's muscles are contracting well so they can go and so they can stop, and so ultimately so they can be protected, they can stay safe, they can come back and they can keep doing those things. And then number three, like you were saying, hey, when you are going to do something, you're doing it all out, but in respect to listening to your body. Like you were saying earlier, hey, if today is not, a max effort sprint day because your body's feeling a little tweaked, then you need to acknowledge that and you need to respect that. So you give yourself the opportunity to come back and try that again the next day or at a later date. Would you say there's anything else? First of all, am I screwing any of that up? And then secondly, would you say there's anything else that kind of fits into your training philosophy?
Absolutely. I will give you one more concept, but you hit it 100% correctly. Now, when we're looking at the differences of the athletes that we're training, if I'm getting someone ready for an MMA fight, there are days they're going to hate me. But in the realm of it's still responsible training, I don't know if there would ever be those same days on my guy that's had 3 back surgeries. So it's smart, intentful, purposeful training for the objective at hand. That's important. Here's the other thing, too, that we get lost in my opinion. And the good thing about my opinion is I generally believe they're more wrong than they're right. Here's where I know I'm right. Here's where I'm not right. There's a single word that runs through every successful person I've ever seen. It's belief. It's belief. So here's what happens. You are going to be derailed. You are going to be told can't, no, won't, doesn't. If you have an intrinsic belief that's stronger than the naysayers, you have a chance. If you don't have any chance. The single most important thing is a belief in yourself.
I love that. That hits home for sure.
Okay, Steve, it's time that I would like to hear about how you train you. Because you brought up that you use some same principles when you're training athletes in sports performance. And you use some of those principles, but you train yourself a little differently. Can you talk to us about what you do with your own training, what the goals are, and like what you've done in the past with your training?
Jules, love you slowing it down. Absolutely. So here's my thing. So Charlie, what is that Physique Pro Brandon that you train?
Yeah,
right. So he has one specific goal. He wants large muscle bellies, tight insertions, be healthy and safe, as big and bad as possible. I'm a 52-year-old on a mission. I eventually, one day, am going to get my pro card as a bodybuilder. I don't care if I'm 97 years old. I'm going to do it. Now, how is my training? What does my training look like right now? Right now, I'm on a vibe to work out 2 years straight. And I haven't missed a day. Now, my workouts, when I say a workout, if I'm doing a shoulder rehabilitation day, that will constitute a workout. If I'm doing an easy cardio day, that'll be a workout. How my workouts look right now, really simple. I do an anterior chain day, I do a posterior chain day, I do a leg day, and I repeat. And within the realm of those specific things, I do higher reps. I'm really smart in what I can and can't tolerate. If I'm doing a multi-joint motion, I know my realm. I know the segments. I know how deep I can go. I'm not listening to Bob tell me to go to 90 degrees when I can't. I'm not saying let's rotate or let's get a deeper drive so I can get the full length of my pecs. I don't roll like that. If it's limited and someone comes in, why are you doing those short drains? Don't talk to me. I'm locked in. This is my time. So what I do now, I don't wear tank tops. I wear t-shirts and long shirts, pants. This is about my time in my head. I train with two people, either my wife or my son. And when we're training, don't talk to me. I am locked into the intent of the contraction. All I'm worried about right now is contracting appropriately every single thing I do. Within the realm of the things I've changed, I like doing cardio. Is it all high intensity? No. And I put a post out there of me doing sprints. My sprints aren't pretty. And I'm not locked in. They're really not. So what I'm saying is, that's how I've changed what I do now. What I had done previously, it was the same thing. Believed you had to do heavy squats, heavy deads, and heavy bench to be anywhere. Here's what ends up happening. As you age or as you mature, you just got to be smarter in how you take care of your joints. So every workout I do right now is tactfully thought through. And because I have enough tools in my toolbox, I plan the workout on how I'm rolling on that day. So I have a principle depending on what I have available and where I'm going. That's how I train. So I could do one set of an exercise. I could do 7 sets of another. I could pyramid up, pyramid down. I could superset. I could whatever it is, as long as it's in the realm of what I'm doing. And I try to push myself to 80-90% of everything I'm doing. Don't like to talk to people, don't like to be interrupted, utilize different resistance profiles. A lot of what we've learned, I act like it's mine, it's not. Tom Purvis is a genius. You guys keep keeping me humble on what I should or shouldn't do, but that's how I progress my training.
I love that. And then to piggyback off that, talk to us about your nutrition, because I know your nutrition is no joke as well.
So, my nutrition, this is the cool thing. My guy, Rick Socius, good dude. And again, not a registered dietitian. He's introduced me to macro cycling. I'm so geeked about this. It's ridiculous. It's like, oh, dude. And it makes sense to me in my head. The utilization of macros, so your body knows how to use them. So the repletion and depletion of, let's say, fats, carbohydrates, fats at different, proteins at different levels. So I'd like slide up carbs, slide down fats, slide up fats. I'll do sometimes 21-day cycle. It's cool. I'll do a fish and egg day. I'll do a detox day. It's really, really cool. If I want to cheat day, I'll do that. But it's really, my body has adjusted unbelievably well. That being said, standard is I have about 6 to 8 meals a day. I'm always, you guys have seen, I'm always prepared. I never leave it up in the air. If I got to smush turkey out of a baggie, I'm rocking. I could be an astronaut. I could eat astronaut food all day. Stay hydrated a ton of the time. I don't drink alcohol, don't smoke. So that nutrition is huge for me.
I love that. I mean, we can definitely both attest to seeing the size of the coolers that you bring into class and how many meals are in each of those coolers. And you would think that those would be your meals, for the entire, 4-day class that we're there. But no, that's your meal for the 8 hours that we're in class. So I can definitely both can attest.
It's the same thing with you. So with how you cycle your carbs, to get enough carbs to balance your blood sugar level, and coming from vegetables, that's locked in to precise issues. I'm precise. No. Here's why I'm precise. I know what's working. I know what's not working. Definitely. I know, oh my gosh, if I'm eating a cheesecake and I want the whole cheesecake, I'm eating the whole cheesecake. But I know how I'm going to feel. Yes. So it's like I tell my sons, my guys, you're accountable. Don't do the homework. That's cool. Fail out of college. I'm done paying. So you can do whatever you want. I know how I'm going to feel. So what I'm saying is we're accountable. Here's what people want. They want it both ways. They want it not to be hard, but they want to look great. It doesn't work like that. Yep. They want to lock in. I want to eat what I want, when I want. Cool. Brilliant. I'm like, dude, I want to drink. That's cool. Do whatever you want. Just understand there's accountability. You can't outwork work. Yes. You have to put the work into everything. I look, it's the same. I come into class, and again, I see how well prepared Jules is. She spent hundreds of hours locking this stuff in. Now, I'm just telling you, she's better prepared than anyone else. And she is very, very intelligent, but not because she's overly intelligent, but because she spent the time doing the work. It runs across the gamut. So if you want to look like Brandon, good luck.
Right.
Because you have no idea how much work he's put in. And as long as you're willing to put that work in, put you in a position to succeed, but won't guarantee it.
So Steve, is there anything that we haven't asked you that we should have asked you about your area of expertise, your philosophy on training, on nutrition, or life in general?
No, you got the basic thing. I'm a smash guy. I'm a highly excited kaboom guy. If you're coming to me, and again, I love yoga, but if you're coming to me for yoga, I'm not that guy. But I want to flip this a little bit. So I see Charlie and Julie, and here's what I love about Charlie and Julie. I've been with you guys 7 years. I've never heard you guys say a bad thing about anyone ever. That's one. Here's the other thing too. You continuously strive to better yourselves for one reason, to make people better. So you are authentically placing yourselves in a position to help other people. And here's again the thing, which I'm hugely a believer of. You're either a problem solver or a problem bringer. I love being around you guys because you're looking to solve stuff. Those are the people I want to be around. You impact the world positively. So I just want to turn it around and say, I'm really proud of what you're doing and the way you guys go about doing it. And I'm not just saying that. And again, I'm honored to hang out with you guys. And every time I'm around you, I feel like I get better.
Steve, thank you, man. That really means a lot. We really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Steve. And we feel the same about you. I remember that my first MAT mastery class, walking in the class, and I was like, is that the guy in the back of my class? And Charlie's like, yeah, he's got a sick accent too.
So you guys know, just keep it real. Accent's fake. I'm actually from Iowa. I've been faking this for 7 years. And I'm locked in.
That's too funny. Well, you're very consistent with it.
I love that.
My man. All right. So the question that we like wrapping up with for all of our guests is, Steve, what is your definition of health?
Pretty easy one. Feel good from the inside out. Legitimately feel good. Nothing hurts. And again, please understand, I am not in that place, but there are days where I'm like, golly, I feel so freaking good. It's really feeling good from the inside out. Here's why I say that. Because there's a huge amount of components into that. So here's my thing. The big dog is your brain, the mental component, that runs the whole show. If you're feeling good from the inside out, that means you're looking at everything from rosy eyes. When I have those days, I'm like, wow, it's a good freaking day, but I have them. That's my definition of health.
No, for sure. Because, for us, it comes down to being able to do the things that you want to do. And if you're feeling good from the inside out, that's like step one to being able to do the stuff that you want to do. So I can definitely appreciate where you're coming from with that. Well, Steve, thank you so much, man, for sharing your time, for sharing your expertise, for sharing your stories with us. It's always such a joy being able to connect with you, being able to see your face, to hear your energy, and to feel what you're bringing to the table. So thank you for the work that you've done. Thank you for the work that you continue to do. And thank you for sharing it with us.
Man, I love you guys. Keep rocking. Jules, I'll shut up the whole of next class, I swear. You guys stay safe and healthy.
You as well.
Take care, guys.
Thank you, my friend. Take you.
Bye.
Take care, Steve. Thank you. So there you have it, some amazing advice from one of the best NBA strength coaches of all time. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, you know what, I'm not a professional athlete, that conversation really didn't apply to me, I would beg to differ, and here's why. The principles that Steve discussed from an exercise perspective, from a focus and intensity perspective, and from a life perspective are so practical to every single one of us, regardless of what our current physical fitness levels are, of what our current occupation is, and of what our goals are. So regardless of where you're coming from, there is immense value that can be gleaned from that conversation that you just heard today. Now, if you'd like to learn more about Steve, if you'd like to connect with Steve, if you'd like to keep up with Steve, probably the easiest way to do that is by following his Instagram account. And we will link to that in the show notes. But if you search Steve Hess on Instagram, it's a verified account. So just look for the account with the blue check. So who do you know that needs to hear this episode? Who do you know that has goals, that has ambitions, that has desires, but isn't reaching them yet? Share this episode with them so they can learn about some key principles that they can start implementing in their workouts and start implementing in their life to take their life and take the results to the next level. And while you're online, if you wouldn't mind, head on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and review. It helps people find this podcast when they're looking for podcasts on exercise and when they're looking for podcasts on health. So if you found value in this conversation today, let us know by leaving us that 5-star rating and review. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Have a fantastic week, and we'll talk with you all next week.